Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my show Science Thursday. Today we're gonna take a look at the bullet train, or as it's known in Japanese, Shinkansen. So let's look at what and when. So it's world's first high-speed railway network. What does that mean? Every country at that time, that was first world country and European countries, American countries, they were building high-speed train. Only difference is they invested a lot of money into making network, as in railway tracks that are dedicated for high speed. So they did not have any freight train going to it. So that's why they are called world's first high-speed railway network. This was their unique part, and this was done after World War II. In World War II, they suffered a very heavy defeat, and they had to rebuild. So at that time, they played a gamble, and the gamble was like, because the road networks were destroyed and cars and all that is very expensive, not affordable by masses, they're gonna build a high-speed rail network to connect suburban parts to Tokyo. Basically, they want to make sure everybody can access places that are far away quickly. So after World War II, they started to invest in it with some hiccups, and they got it working at Olympic of 1964, Tokyo Olympic. They opened, the inauguration happened, and the train service was open to the public, and it was quite successful. And as you can see, there were many generations of bullet trains. So question comes to the mind, why a country that was war destroyed, like they literally have lost everything, and they invested so much for a train network, a high-speed train network. So they did it for two simple reasons. One simple reason was economical. Obviously, they knew that investing in something like this, which allows a large amount of people to be connected, it's a recipe for economic growth. So they did it. And second was, their country just suffered a very severe defeat, so they needed to build national pride. Now many people don't actually grasp the concept of national pride, and it's understandable, it's not taught in school. The reason is that if you don't have national pride, your students, if they go abroad for study, they will not come back. And as an Indian, most of us are very familiar with that aspect. This is why you need national pride, and Japanese people were going to abroad for studies, so they had to make sure they come back. So investing in national pride is like investing in the future. And so far they generally, on average, save and add to economy roughly $4.5 billion a year. So I would say they were quite successful. So we know they are successful, then how the heck they became successful? First, you have to understand, they did not cut any corners. The R&D department of Shinshan network is the most expensive thing there is R&D wise in terms of train. Like the amount of money they poured in, they make space program look cheap, and it's the recent polls suggest that it's roughly $2 billion. So they're not cutting corners. The R&D, it goes very quickly, and you have to understand the Shinshan network has a lot of train stops. It's not like European networks where train picks up and like there is nothing for 100 kilometers. No, it's almost like an Indian railway scenario where it's like train starts, stop, start, stop, start, stop. So to compensate for that, they initiated something known as all-wheel drive. Basically, every wheel that you see in the train is connected to a motor. Yes, all of the wheels are driving the train. Basically, a lower version of this is what in India we have is called EMU, and almost every country has this. This is where you need start and stop a lot, you need acceleration. So for that reason, you have EMUs where you have engine in the front, engine in the back, engine in the center. They just simply took that and like they boosted it. They're like every single wheel has its own basically motor, and this allows them incredible acceleration. Now trains take a very long time to get up to the speed, so like on average you can easily comfortably assume that 0 to 100 km/h could take upwards of 8 to 10 minutes. Shinshan can do that in seconds. They don't do it in seconds because people will push back in their seat, but they can do it, and they instead of 10 minutes they are in 1 minute. So this saves a lot of time. So that's why their average speed is very high, because even though they are stopping more frequently than any high-speed train network, they are picking up very quickly. So that was their acceleration, secret to acceleration. And you have to understand, there is no level crossing in Xinjiang railway network. Now I am showing a picture of it here, but that's the only crossing there is, and it's for factory line. Basically, when train needs to go for maintenance, that's the only place where it has level crossing. Level crossing is a basically the recipe for disaster. If anything gets stuck, your train is very expensive, and if it goes through any metal object like a bike or anything like that, you have to apply emergency brake to check, like, is any motor damage or things like that. So avoiding it is as much as possible is a very good idea, and it also saves life. Like in India, roughly 12,000 people die on railway crossings, so suffice to say. And they also use what's called swing nose crossing, and I'm showing this image. Most of you are familiar with this sort of rail crossing. However, when wheel is going through one, two, or another track, you can see there is a giant gap. The wheel goes in the gap, ton, and it goes to another rail. Now this is well, as you can see, its wheels have load as high as 20 tons, and generally even the light railway will have roughly around 10 ton weight on the point where wheel is contacting the rails. So that going unsupported is very, well, dangerous. It damages the wheel, because now it's hitting a point very sharply. So not only that, it does not even support high speed. Your train is gonna derail if you do that. It's high speed. So what Shinkansen did is basically what's called swing nose. That also, so there is no gap. So these trains can take turns at very high speed, even on crossing. So all those things combined allows Xinjiang to have the reputation it has. It's very punctual, it's very safe, and it's very fast. All of these things work to it. So if they find a security flaw, they quickly fix it. They will not go to board meeting and all that. That will be fixed instantaneously. And if they had a train derailment recently, and they are like, okay, they put a latch on bottom of these bogies that will latch onto the tracks in order to prevent it from derailing, like falling over. So they put a lot of R&D money, which cannot be understated, to make sure they get their Xinjiang. So in recent years, India was trying to get into the high-speed railway network, and Narendra Modi has inaugurated, like basically now we are a go, we're getting bullet train. Surprising amount of people are against it, and I have no idea why. So here are some reasons, only some reasons that I'm gonna give you, that why India also needs bullet train. I'm like, ideally we would have built our own, but that would take way too long. So time is time of being of the essence. We have to be careful about time. So train in India is always seen as a last resort of travel. Like if you're poor, you travel by train. Let's say I come to my own hometown. Here's the deal: there is only railway connection here. There is no airport connection. So I come to the nearest airport and then travel by train, because train is seen as a last resort. And all of you agree. Like if you had the money and if you had the airport connection, none of you will travel by train. And you have to understand, from Indian Railways perspective, passenger is always a low profit or sometimes flat out money sinking ground for railway. Railway makes most of its income from freight, basically carrying goods and luggages. And the recent rise of Indian cheap airlines like Indiegogo, and there are a lot of competition in these cheap airlines. They made it they're starting to take away the revenue that railway was getting. Now this thing you have to understand very carefully, that railway does not make that much money if all the train is general classes. They are not going to make that much. At best case scenario, they will have enough money to slowly repair something before it destroys, gets sold. They will not have enough money to buy new products. So they make a lot of their money from premium trains like Duranto, Rajdhani, and basically very expensive trains. But the reason is nobody want to go into expensive trains because they are slow. Like Duranto does not have 100% occupancy because the train is going from one place to another. Like let's say Bangalore to Calcutta, you can take an aircraft there and it will save you significant amount of time. And trains are painful. Like if you stuck inside a train for 18 hours, 36 hours, 40 hours, it's painful. So need of speed is very compulsory. And our Indian Railway has very bad average speed. Like even Shatabdis and Rajdhani barely max out at 90. And yes, some tracks exist where they're like, for this small distance they have like 130 and things like that. But as a whole, Indian passenger service are idiotically slow. So we need something. Otherwise, every people who can afford, they can pay railway simply won't pay, and slowly and surely, railway will lose money. And we always look at our railway as a national embarrassment. Like nobody talks about Indian railway in good sense. Like recently I made an episode on ISRO as it's a national pride. This is opposite of that. This is an embarrassment. Like our trains are not looked at. We are way behind schedule. Like everybody did a high speed railway by now, and we are still like India is poor, India is poor. I'm like, what? You will become more poor if you don't fix this problem. So these are my reasons why India needs bullet train. So that was my presentation. I hope you liked it or learned from it. In that case, please like. If you didn't, dislike, leave a comment and subscribe. I make video every day. Thanks for watching.